Hi there, I'm Krista at the Bruce County Library. I want to welcome you to our morning, and today we're pleased to host Phillip Craig from the Nuclear Innovation Institute. Phillip is the NII Explore Director, and one of his many jobs is to bring awesome science activities to our communities in Bruce County. Please feel free to leave comments or ask questions in the YouTube channel, and we'll answer them as they come in. All right. Also, about today's program by filling out the short survey will be in the description below. All right. So this is Phillip from NII Explore. Take it away, Phillip.
All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad that you guys are joining me here today. We've had a lot of fun over the last 2 days. On Monday, we learned all about friction, and we made a bottle levitate using just rice and the power of friction, and that was super fun. Yesterday, we did something a little bit different, okay? We took some time and we learned about vibrations and how sound is just a bunch of vibrations that travel through the air and wind up in our ears. Now, we did that. We made a little guitar, and do you know what? It was great. You guys really took it to the next level, and we had some great submissions to our Instagram page at home. So we're just going to show you off some of those. We have 3 people who really, really stood out. So in third place, our third place, submission was Sawyer. All right, so that was Sawyer. She did a great job. Also, big thanks to C. McBizzle, who put that in there. That's just a great handle more than anything else. Next up, we had not someone who just made a pretty guitar, but someone who has some pretty great vocal cords and sang a little song for us. So in second place, we have Riley.
Hey guys, look at my guitar. Twinkle, twinkle, little stars.
All right, good job. Let's see it. Cool.
All right, so that was Riley. Riley, love that little song. But our number one scientist of the day is not just one scientist of the day, it's 2 scientists of the day. Because this sister duo not only made some great guitars, not only sang a song, but kind of made up that song themselves. So give it up to our number one scientist of the day, who will be going home with their very own Tinker Crate right here, some roller coaster science, Olivia and Adelaide. All right. So once again, a huge thank you to everybody who did the experiment yesterday, and then also submitted things to at NII Explore on Instagram. We love seeing everything that you guys come up with. And once again, if you're chosen to be our scientist of the day, you'll be going home with a Tinker Crate. So we'll be getting in touch with Olivia and Adelaide's parents and saying, hey, how can we get this box to you? Because we're pumped up that you guys participated. So once again, big thank you to all of those people. Now, that was yesterday. But you know what? We're going to take yesterday and we're going to move into today. Because today we're going to be doing something really, really interesting. When we talked about vibrations yesterday, we were saying, hey, vibrations, they travel through the air because we make a vibration and then it hits an air particle. It hits something in the air and it causes it to kind of like wiggle. And then that one jumps and it hits another air particle and it causes that one to vibrate. And then it goes on and it travels through the air, hitting all these little air particles. And it's important to realize that air is not empty space. Air is made up of a whole bunch of little atoms and little molecules of what we're trying to, of of things that take up space and things that have weight. So we are going to be doing an experiment with that today. And for that experiment, we're going to need a few different things. Okay, so I'm just going to head to camera 3 and demonstrate what are the things we're going to need. So what we're going to need today to do our experiment, we are going to need an old pop bottle, okay, one that has a lid. Okay, an old pop bottle, one that has a lid. You can do the experiment without the pop bottle, but it is quite a bit harder. Okay, we are going to need a straw, or preferably one that bends. Having a bendy straw is going to make a big difference today. Okay, and then we're going to need something to make a hole in the lid of the pop bottle. So you can do that a couple different ways. A hammer and a nail, you can just punch a hole in. You can just use some scissors and kind of drill a hole in. Or if you want to go Tim the Toolman Taylor route, just go straight old-fashioned power drill. Okay, that will also work. This will be the fastest, probably the most fun, and afterwards you can go. None of the kids got that joke, but some of the parents did, so I hope you enjoyed it. So that is what we're going to need, and a pair of scissors. Okay, we need a pair of scissors. Kids, if you're doing this at home and you don't have maybe a mom or a dad or grandma, grandpa, or maybe an adult to help you, you may just want to watch this one because cutting bottles is actually kind of tricky with scissors. Okay, so just make sure you have a parent to help you because we don't want anyone getting hurt with the scissors. Okay, so just to recap, things we need: bottle with a cap. Once again, you don't need the bottle or the cap, but it makes things way easier. So bottle and the cap, something to make a hole, so hammer and nail, a straw, preferably the bendy kind, and a ping pong ball. Need the ping pong ball and a pair of scissors. All right, so while you guys collect that, I'm gonna go back to camera 1. Hello, camera 1, nice to see you. So while you guys are doing that, you probably remember my friend Greta and I, we have been doing some exploring the Bruce Power Visitor Center. Okay, so the Bruce Power Visitor Center, it's kind of a place where you can go and learn all about what is happening at Bruce Power. And Greta and I, we spent the day learning all about what radiation is and how radiation works. So let's roll that film, and I need you guys to be paying very close attention because I'm going to ask you guys what you think is more radioactive. About halfway through this. So make sure you're paying attention to Greta and I's adventure in science.
Phillip and Greta's science adventure. We're gonna explore. We're gonna explore. Phillip and Greta's science adventure. We're gonna explore.
So, Greta, today we're going to be talking a little bit about radiation. And radiation sometimes can be a little bit dangerous, so we have to be in the proper clothes. You ready? Let's do it. Let's go. Now, when something's radioactive, it means some parts of it just have a little bit too much energy and they're a little bit unstable. So they're trying to get rid of some of that energy. And we can use a Geiger counter like this one. This one's particularly old, but this one will pick up if there's any energy that is being released from these things. So we have our 2 items. We have batteries and Brazil nuts. What do you think is more radioactive?
I think the batteries.
What do you guys think at home? Make your picks in the poll, and then we'll come back and find out. All right, everybody.
Hey, Phillip,
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know we've got Cody watching from Point Clark
Oh, hi, Cody.
and Danielle from Kincardine.
Yeah, so fantastic. I love hearing where people are watching from. So Cody from Point Clark, Danielle from Kincardine. this is what I want you guys to do along with everybody else that's watching. I want you guys to think, what do you think is more radioactive? What do you think has too much energy and is trying to get rid of it? Is it batteries or is it Brazil nuts? I want you to let me know in the chat. Krista, keep an eye on that chat. See what people are thinking. What do you think has more radiation? Is it batteries or is it Brazil nuts? Batteries or Brazil nuts?
Danielle says batteries.
Danielle says batteries. That's a good thought because they do have a lot of energy. Once again, this is a good question. Maybe ask your mom or your dad. Say, hey, mom, dad. Hey, grandma, grandpa, big brother, big sister. What has more radiation? Is it batteries or Brazil nuts? All right, let's find out. We're going to head back. We're going to see what has more radiation, and then we're going to do another test to see if we can find out. So roll that film.
Phillip and Greta's science adventure. We're gonna explore. We're gonna explore. Phillip and
Which one should we do first? The Brazil nuts. We're going to see if we hear any clicks. Oh, now we'll try the batteries. No clicks. That's actually right. Brazil nuts are a little bit radioactive because the roots of the Brazil nut tree go so deep into the ground, they often interact with some radioactive materials. Greta, what do you think is more radioactive? The bananas? All right, we are going to find out. We're going to give you guys a chance to guess at home. What do you think is more radioactive? Bananas or the remote control? All right, so we are back. I want to say a big shout out to the Brockton Child Care Center. Apparently we have a whole crowd of people watching there, which is fantastic. So we saw that in that one, it was the Brazil nuts. It was the Brazil nuts that had more radiation because their roots, they grow so deep that they're kind of interacting with some radioactive materials deep, deep, deep in the soil. But then we also saw bananas in a remote control. So I want you guys to take some time and guess what is more radioactive between bananas and a remote control. So what's more radioactive, bananas or a remote control? Take some time, pop that in the chat. Krista, she's going to keep me updated with what's going on in the chat. So Krista, you said there was a few other people watching. Who else is watching, and what were people saying about what's more radioactive? Okay, that was a good guess, Jonah. Yeah, so the next one. Yeah, so right now we're trying to decide what is more radioactive. Is it bananas or the remote control? Remote control, it makes sense because it's shooting something at the TV to make a difference. So let's head back to the video and find out what's more radioactive. Is it bananas or a remote control? Not a whole lot there. Yeah, there you go. A little bit coming off the bananas. The bananas are more radioactive. That's because they have something called potassium-40. Just a little bit radioactive. Now, you would have to eat about 10 million bananas before it started really hurting you. So you don't need to worry about getting sick because of eating bananas. But there's just a little bit of radiation in each and every one. Yeah, so we saw in that video, which was pretty exciting, that bananas actually have more radiation than a remote control. A remote control doesn't have any. But a banana does. It has something called potassium-40. And all that means, all that radiation means, is that the materials in it, the atoms, have just a little bit too much energy. And that energy, it's always floating around, and sometimes it's trying to escape. And that happens sometimes. And that's in a little doses like bananas or Brazil nuts. That's not really something to be worried about. Now, I do have another example here. This is a little piece of an old plate, and it's called Fiesta flatware. And this is a really old one. They made these in like the 1930s, but they actually used uranium to coat it to make sure that it was really hard so that the color didn't come off. Now, this is a new Geiger counter. This is a much newer one than the one we used in the video. But you can see here, if you put it in here, that it really lights up. It's like, whoa! We go, it like gets really low really quickly. You're like, you can see the light coming off like crazy. Okay, so some things have a lot of radiation like this, like uranium flatware, but some things like bananas have a little bit. You don't need to worry about it. So anyways, big thank you to Greta for hanging out with me the other day at the Bruce Power Visitor Center. That was great. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now, we are going to get into our experiment. Krista, if you see people with questions or comments, make sure you just let me know, and then we are going to start rocking with this experiment. So join me as I head on back to camera 3. Hello, camera 3. All right, so what we're going to be doing today, we are going to take our water or our pop bottle, and we are going to make a cut all the way around the outside. Okay, so we're going to end up with just this part, just the very top of it. So we're going to cut all around here. Now, once again, this is a great thing to get your mom or your dad to help with, just because cutting bottles like this can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Okay, so don't worry if you need to get a little bit of help, because that is a-okay, because cutting these things is a little bit tricky at the best of times. So I'm going to cut this bottle. You guys at home do the same. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the chat, and then I'll be happy to answer them, as well as Krista can maybe jump in and answer them too, if it's an easy one. So we are going to just cut these bottles just like that. Sometimes it's best to make a little hole in it, and then you can just cut through with your scissors pretty simply. A knife works pretty well for these too, if moms or dads are looking for a little way to make it a little easier. So we can cut it all the way around. And you're going to end up with something that looks an awful lot like this. Okay? Boop. So just like this. And this is just going to kind of keep everything contained. Right? We're going to keep everything contained. Once again, you don't need a pop bottle to do this experiment, but it is going to make it way easier. Okay? So we have the pop lid like this. You guys are working on that at home. And then another thing we're going to do is we're going to take a little pop can, or our lid, and we're just going to punch a little hole in it. We're going to put a hole in it that's just big enough to fit our straw through. So once again, you guys can use a nail and a hammer. You can use a drill. You can just use your scissors if you want. Once again, though, this is probably a good thing for mom and dad to help with, or your grandma and grandpa. Anybody with a little bit of experience with big tools. I'm going to use the drill, but just to be safe, I'm going to go safety goggles on first, because that's what we're all about here at NII Explore. So I'm going to just drill a little hole, just like that. And now I have a little hole in my pop can lid, just like that, or my pop bottle lid. So I'm going to give you guys just a second to catch up. We're going to have our pop bottle, our lid, and then we're going to put our straw, and we're going to put it through the hole that we drilled in there. Now, once again, this is where having a bendy straw really helps. I would really recommend you use one. If you don't have a bendy straw, that's okay. Like, it'll still work, but it'll just be a little more awkward when you're trying to blow through it. All right. So what you see here is I now have my straw, and I pushed it right through that lid. Okay, we're gonna get, Krista, are you keeping up? Am I going too fast? Are you okay?
I'm keeping up, Philip.
Oh, sorry, what was that, Krista?
I'm keeping up.
Ah, fantastic. So what we're gonna end up with is kind of like a little funnel with a straw in the bottom. Okay? Now, what we can do with this little funnel with the straw is we can put the ball in on top. Okay? So we're going to put the ball in on top, and then we're just going to take a breath, and we're going to try to blow out. And we're going to see what happens. Is the ball going to shoot out? Is it going to stay on the straw? Is it going to bounce around? What's going to happen? So I'm going to take a big breath in. Oh, my straw is angled the wrong way. I got to push my straw further in here to make sure that air can get out. My hole was a little bit too small, so I got to make sure the air can get through. All right. Oh, I'm going to use this one. Whoop. There, my hole works a little bit better in this one. So when we originally blow, the ball is going to bounce around. So we're going to take a big breath, and we're going to push it up, and the ball is going to be floating in a little pocket of air. Okay, this little pocket of air, it's going to take a bit of a big breath. But
Hey,
then that's
Philip,
yep.
we have a question. Could we use another type of? Could we use another type of ball instead of a ping pong ball?
You could, but it's going to be pretty hard because you want a pretty light ball. So I'm actually going to show you. You can do this without using the funnel at all. You can just use it as it sticks up from the straw, but then the ball will kind of blow away. But the reason we're using a ping pong ball is that ping pong balls are very light. Okay, so like if you used a golf ball or a tennis ball, you would need to have a lot more breath. You need to have a lot more wind. Okay, so I'm going to do this one. And then I'm going to see, I have a whole bunch of other ping pong balls on the table. So if they could get brought over, that would be great. So you can see here, okay, you can blow it up like this. And the ping pong ball will actually stay kind of right on top of the straw. Now it's a little bit, if you have small kids, it's nice to have the funnel, because that will allow, if it kind of gets haywire, you're not chasing the ball all over the place. But you can just do this. And you can see the ball just floating, okay? And that's really important. That's what we're gonna be talking about today. Something called the Bernoulli's principle, okay? Now to explain that, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna head back over to camera one, right? So camera one, oh, hey there. So when you see this, you can see it floating. I'm a little bit closer to this camera, so you'll be able to see it. Okay, so when that happens, you can see the ball, and it's just kind of floating in the air. Okay, now that actually makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, like we're blowing on something, it's moving. That's nothing new. But why doesn't it just blow away? Why doesn't it just go whoop and blow all the way off? That's an important question to ask. So I just want you to think about that. Maybe pop that in the chat if you see it. Oh, I see Christy. She's really blowing on the bottle, which is good. The trick is you want to make sure that the hole is big enough that you can fit your whole straw through, so that you don't have the weird airflow coming through the straw. Yeah, push it up a little bit more. My straw isn't quite long enough. I made a mistake when I put it through. Oh yeah, Christy's getting it. She's working hard on it. Okay, so what is happening is Bernoulli's principle. So I'm going to kind of explain that to you in a way that we all kind of understand. So right here, we have a picture of a wing. And this is something we all kind of understand when we go flying. Is that wing, it's going in the air, but then you have, it's curved. It has a curve on it. So the bottom of a wing is flat, and then the top of the wing has a little curve. And that curve means that the air has to take a longer distance to get around the wing. But because the wing is going real fast, like on the bottom and the top, it means the air on the top has to go faster than the air on the bottom. Now, Bernoulli's principle, Bernoulli was like a really old dude in like the 1700s. He said, you know what? Air in fluids, but for today, air that is moving quickly has less pressure than air that is moving slowly. Okay, so air that's moving slow has a lot of pressure, but air that's moving quickly has less pressure. And ping pong balls, because they're so light, they're always looking to go where there's the least amount of pressure, just like we are. If we're in a space that is like really, really crowded, we would say, do you know what? I don't want to be in that space anymore. I'm going to go to a space where I can spread out. I can be my own person a little bit more. Okay, so that is really what we're experiencing here is all of those air particles. Like you can't really feel them, but they're all around us. What's happening is all those air particles, they're interacting with the ping pong ball and they're saying, hey, oh, I don't want you to be over here. Like there's less pressure over here. So it's going to stay in that little pocket of less pressure. Okay. So when we blow the air, you think, oh, we would just blow the ball right out. But it's actually saying, no, all of the other air particles that are in the air, they're keeping that ball close to the top of the straw. Okay. Which is that's really weird. It's really weird to think that all of the air around us is actually like pushing down on us. Okay. One thing, Christy, I'm seeing that you're struggling a little bit there. What I would suggest, don't just put your straw a little bit through, put it a lot through. So you want to keep it up maybe a little bit higher because you don't want the ball to be messing with the bottom of your top bottle. Because what you want that air pocket to develop. And if you have the plastic in there, it can't start up. So we're going to push that a little bit through. Then if you keep the ball on top, so this way, if you do that, it just means that you don't have to go chasing your ball every single time. So I would just pull your straw a little bit through, drop it on. Just like that. Krista in the Lucknow library, her lungs are getting a workout. She's blowing. She's saying, let's do this thing. Okay? Once again, just do it. Magic. All right. So, Krista, is anyone talking in the chat or are we good to go? I just saw you looking at your computer there. Oh, can't hear a word you're saying. Krista, you're still on mute. Classic.
Sorry, guys. No, Shona said that gravity's holding it down, and Danielle said they got it to work there. Cody got it to work.
Cody and Point Clark just crushing it. Danielle and Kincardine, great work. Yeah. So this is kind of an interesting thing. And to demonstrate air pressure, okay, my science buddy Beckett and I, we did, it's kind of like a little trick. It's kind of a way that you could maybe impress like your mom or your dad. If they're not watching this, you can show them this later tonight. To kind of demonstrate that air takes up space, that air has like, there's particles in it that don't let other things come in. We did a little experiment. So let's watch this video with my buddy Beckett, and then we're going to recreate that experiment live. I bet that I can put this paper in this cup, and then put this cup on the very bottom of that jug of water and not get the paper wet.
I bet you can't.
You bet I can't? This is a good way to maybe trick your mom or your dad one day. Okay? If you get this paper...
I know how to do the back. You just...
No, you don't cover the top. You use something called air pressure. All right, so I have the paper, and I have it all shoved down so that I can flip it over and the paper doesn't fall out. So now I'm going to take the cup, I'm going to go over to this big jug of water, and I'm going to turn the cup upside down. So what we learned is that air it's not nothing. There's particles in there so that when I put it in the water, the air can't get out of the cup. So even though the cup is totally underwater, the air can't get out. So it's keeping the paper perfectly dry. So when I pull out the paper, look at this, the paper is totally dry. All right, so yeah, that was my science buddy Beckett and I. We were doing an experiment. I'm just going to do it live for you guys, just so you can see that there was no camera trickery, and just to explain it in case you want to do it with your friends. So the first thing we're going to need is a glass. Okay, a see-through glass is best, but you can just use any cup. Any cup will work as long as it holds water. Okay, then you're going to want a piece of paper. This is a whole bunch of just paper towel, but you just want to put it and then cram it into the bottom so that, really cram it in there so it doesn't fall out when you, that fell out when I flipped it over. I'm going to use a whole new piece of paper. We're just going to put it in there, cram it into the bottom so that when you flip it over, it stays. So you just want to make sure that the paper stays in the cup when you flip it over. So really any piece of paper will do. You just got to really crush it and put it in there. Okay? So crush that paper, put it in there, whoop, so it works. And then, as I go over to camera 3, all right, so now we can see that we have a water pitcher, and it's only filled halfway through because I don't want it to overflow. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this glass, I'm going to turn it all the way upside down, and I'm going to put it into the water. Now, because air is lighter than water, the air can't escape through the bottom. The water's pushing it up. But because air takes up space, the water can't get into the glass. So I can get this glass and I can dunk it all the way into the water, but the paper will stay nice and dry because the water can't enter the glass because the air is taking up all that space. So we can see it's dripping, all the water's running out the outside. We're going to dunk it in again just for good measure. And then when we pull it out, we're going to see that this paper is nice and crisp and dry, just as it always was. Okay? So that's kind of a really cool experiment to demonstrate that air, even though we kind of think like it's nothing, there's nothing between us. There's millions of tiny, tiny particles, billions of them, that take up space and have mass, have weight. And that's the reason why water can't go into a cup if it's upside down like that, which is pretty cool. All right. So when you guys are at home, maybe if your mom or dad is at work, you can use that. You can use that to trick them when they get home. And if you do that, if you either do that, the experiment with the water and the paper, or if you do the experiment with the ping pong ball floating on the straw, either way, what I want you to do, I want you to say, hey, let's put that on Instagram and message NII Explore, at NII Explore. We'll put that in the chat just so you guys know what link it is. And then maybe you can be on tomorrow's show and win a Tinker Crate of your own. That would be pretty fun. All right, speaking of things that are pretty fun, Krista, you're over in the Lucknow Library. What fun things are you doing this March break?
Well, we have board games going on. You can come try to stump the librarian. There's always all sorts of stuff you can borrow. We have Bookopoly going on all month where people can basically kind of play Monopoly at home with the books you read. You can do it as your whole family. And at the end of the month, there's a draw and the winner will get their own board game for at their home. That's cool.
What type of board games can we win? Any board game?
To be determined.
Oh, TBD, my favorite board game of all. TBD. Okay.
Fun ones. Great family games is what we're focusing on.
Okay.
All right.
I love it.
All right. Yeah, I know, right? So, and we've got some book. I actually was digging around on the shelves and found a couple books, science books, kind of related to what we were talking about today, Philip.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this one, Secret Science by Steve Spangler, and he does all sorts of really cool science videos and experiments. If you're ever interested in more stuff, he's got some good ones. This one's about force and motion, and it talks about how things are moved around, like air, and how air can move things. Very cool. And loads more. I got a whole stack. You want to see my stack?
Oh, just a whole stack of science experiments right there. So if you guys are looking for something to do over the March break, head in not just to the Lucknow Library, but I would imagine if you go into any library, they might have books like that.
Definitely.
All right. Yeah, so head into the Republic Library. Science experiments are so cool because if you know how they work and other people don't, it looks an awful lot like magic. So just keep that in mind. Speaking of things that look a lot like magic, it is now time for a little something I like to call the poem of the day. Now, the poem of the day today is all about air pressure. It's all about how air has mass, how it takes up space, and how we can use that in order to do kind of some fun things that we want to do. So the poem of the day goes something like this. I put my scarf on too tight. The poem of the day goes something like this. It says, "Today we learned that air is made of particles all together. Sometimes they're squished, sometimes they're spread, and that creates something we call pressure. And today we saw a ball take flight and float right by our face, trapped by all those particles inside a low pressure space. You may think, hey, that was great. That experiment was mighty cooly. And it's all because of air pressure and the principle of Bernoulli." And that has been your poem of the day. Also, some people in the studio are laughing that I rhymed coolly with Bernoulli, but very few things rhyme with Bernoulli, in my defense. All right, so that kind of wraps up what we're going to be doing today. Tomorrow, we have another experiment on deck. Oh, but before we go, I just want to say, hey, Brockton Community Center or Brockton Child Care Center, thanks for watching. Always great to have you guys. Cody from Point Clark, Danielle from Kincardine, Shona, always pumped up to see you guys. If anyone else is watching, make sure you put it in the chat and I'll show you out too. So tomorrow, we're going to be doing another experiment. This time, we're not going to be talking about air pressure, but we're going to be talking about densities of fluids, okay? So we're going to need a few things. They should be right here, popping up right there any moment now. So we're going to need two different types of oil. So like baby oil and canola oil, that's a good one. If you don't have canola, but you have like a vegetable oil or a sunflower, like that will still work. But two different types of oil, preferably ones that, like if one is a really thick oil, maybe one that's a little bit of a lighter oil. So baby oil, pretty light. And then any one of those other oils, which is good. A clear glass, so a glass like this that you can kind of see what's going on, and then some ice cubes, okay? A clear glass and then some ice cubes. So yeah, that is going to be really, really nice if we can get all of those things right here. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so that's something to think about. Once again, I just want to say, my name is Phillip Craig. I'm here at the NII Explore building, and I'm so glad you guys joined us. If you guys did the experiment today, make sure you submit it to @NII Explore on Instagram, because I would love to give you guys some Tinker Crates. I would love to see what you guys came up with and how well you understand the Bernoulli principle of air pressure. Yeah.
Royce, we got Royce too. We missed Royce. So
Royce, where's Royce right now?
he is in Kincardine.
Royce from K-Town. Royce, Glad you're watching, buddy. That's great. All right. So with that in mind, I want you guys all to have a wonderful day, and hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.